I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but I sucked at school. I mean, like, sucked. I won't bother telling you my high school GPA because I'm worried you would unsubscribe, but I was bad. Like, I was bad at school. And well, I guess that can't be completely true. I did make this in the 3rd grade. This is Vegetable Man. No, you heard that correctly. I made this in the 3rd grade. Van Gogh didn't paint the Starry Night till he was 36. So let that sink in for a second. 3rd grade. Anyways, it took a while to figure out that the reason for my inability to focus in school and out of school was because of my ADHD, which I didn't figure out until I was 23, so this year, and now I'm out of school. But it has kind of left me curious if having ADHD is a death sentence to being in school, or if it was just a me problem. So I took to Instagram to see if I could find a couple people that could relate to me. I tried to find 3 different types of people. I tried to find someone who is on the verge of finding out they have ADHD, meaning they're not diagnosed yet. I tried to find someone who didn't find out they had ADHD until college. And I tried to find someone who found it earlier on in their life, like when they were in elementary, and was able to get ahead of it. But really, I was just curious to see if their school experiences were anything like mine. How's it going?
Good, dude. How are you?
Doing good. This is Parker. Parker hasn't been diagnosed with ADHD yet, but he meets all the symptoms and has plans to get it checked out. I met Parker in high school in one of my video classes. And all jokes aside earlier about my creative genius, but Parker actually is a creative genius in video and continues to make videos that just blow my mind every time I see him. What were you like as a student?
I was in like a math class, and I should be disciplined enough to be able to listen and try and pass this class. And there was this one particular day where I was just like, I'd be on my phone, and then he was like going over questions that were going to be on the test. So I was like, okay, I'm going to focus. I'm going to listen to these questions. And like 5 minutes later, I would just find myself back on my phone. And I would get so mad at myself. I was like, it wasn't a conscious decision on my phone. It just freaking happened. And it happened like 8 times in that particular class. And I was so mad at myself. Classes that I could actually use my hands and like use my creative brain, I would do so much better in, but that's mostly not any class that you're taking in high school.
A bunch of my friends would study for their tests and get like 90%.
That was Claire. And Claire was someone that didn't figure out she had ADHD until college. And she also just happens to be one of my neighbors.
And I study for my test and I get like a C. It's so annoying.
Right.
I'm like, study for this and I got a C.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I'm dumb. I knew I wasn't stupid, but just like not as proficient as my friends
Right.
who were
Not-
really, really smart.
Not academically smart.
The biggest things I think I would struggle with are daily assignments, and I could never get myself to do these assignments, and it's not that I wasn't understanding the material, I just couldn't bring myself to do the homework.
Okay guys, I gotta come clean. I messed up on the screen recording when I was recording Danny, so that's my B. Sorry Danny, I didn't give you justice. So I only have the audio for Danny.
And that was also kind of my first frustrations, realizing that other people's brains didn't work the way mine did, and they didn't really understand that, because
Right.
it was like, to them, Danny's just being disobedient.
Right.
And I was like, no, Danny's getting his homework done the only way he knows how.
So I would actually consider Danny one of the lucky ones. And I say that because Danny figured out he had ADHD when he was in 6th grade. And because of that, he's had more time to figure things out, figure out medication, figure out dosages, and also figure out the little things like what things help him get motivated, and also what things that prevent him from staying on task or turning in his homework on time or getting things done in a timely manner.
I'm in college on an academic scholarship right now, you know.
Right, yeah, that's amazing.
This wouldn't happen. Like, a combination of, you know, me having ADHD and medicating for it, and also having a certain standard modeled for me. I don't think without those things I would be succeeding in school, because by now I would have convinced myself that I just can't.
Again, I would consider someone like Danny to be lucky that he was able to figure that out when he was much younger and had time to figure out his ADHD brain, versus someone like me and Parker, because it's been a very recent discovery for us and we're still amidst figuring things out. It sounds like organization is a big thing for you to be able to function.
It's helped me so much. Like, what I've been struggling so much with, I was never organized in high school.
For sure.
And like, even recently, I've just now started trying to make that a priority. I've started doing more fun things where I'm like using colors on labels and things, like little tiny mundane things like that, where I break it down and be like, okay, first I'm just gonna watch the talking head and label different colors of the title needs to go here, B-roll needs to go here, and then that was a day. So I really think breaking it down into smaller steps for your brain to handle is so much better than just being like, okay, just go.
Gonna go for it.
Sit down and edit, yeah.
And one of the things that I was especially curious about is now that some of these people were able to find the right sort of medication, what's their experience like now as a student? And again, is it still a death sentence having ADHD, regardless if you're able to get help for it or not?
Eventually, I found the medication that worked for me. It makes me feel, I guess, a little bit less, like, energetic.
Okay.
I'm able to focus more.
Uh-huh.
And get things done. I'm a lot more motivated. But when I miss a day, I'm like super optimistic and energetic, but I will get nothing done.
After that, I kind of realized that even though I had been on medication, I only knew how to function fueling myself with stress and anxiety.
Okay.
Ritalin gives you the ability to focus, but it won't give you motivation. Even though I had the ability to focus when I needed to, I still was having a hard time sticking to a schedule and doing things out of my self-betterment, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
And I really like that, but it's been this huge process.
So luckily, it's not a death sentence.
What's wrong?
I'm hurt. I have hurt myself. Oh my God.
Okay, wait.
This is not looking good.
And not only that, but it was really cool to see that they can be successful and actually gave me a lot of hope for students that do have ADHD, especially if you figure it out earlier on, that you have a really great chance of having a lot more options and that you can be successful academically in whatever you choose to do. But for the people that don't figure it out, and even listening to Danny's experience, and even though Danny's had years of being able to figure out how his brain works and how to use that in a positive way for school, even he had hard times trying to figure out how to find the balance of that. But especially for the people that don't get a chance to figure it out later, or someone like me and Parker who are now done with school and it's in our past, it doesn't account for all of this shame and all of the negative beliefs that have built up in my mind and of feeling dumb, believing that we're lazy and that we're unmotivated. And to be honest, that really is the biggest gripe that I have with modern day public education. I was looking through some of my old papers when I was writing the script and preparing for this video, and I came across this report card from 7th grade, and it just brought back all of this anxiety and feelings of inadequacy and feelings of not being good enough in any way, shape, or form. It's just crazy to think that we grow up in a system that is completely catered to one style of learning, and if you don't have that same style of learning, you are kind of left in the dust to come up with your own stuff or to hopefully find somewhere, some organization, some skill, some talent that clicks with you with your style of learning. Like if I didn't come across my talent of video my junior year in high school, I have no idea where I'd be right now. And my friend Parker kind of feels the same way. Like it kind of haunts me a little bit thinking about like, what would I be doing if I ever didn't find film? Like what if I throw all of my like high school and stuff like that, never found anything that I felt like I could be successful in? Where do you feel like you would be had you not found something like film to give you confidence like that?
Dude, that haunts is a great way to put that, because I have no idea. I think about this all the time. If I hadn't have found film, I would have been dead. Like, I've been in like an IT company working like a mundane, clicky, just go through the motions job. I hated it with all my heart. So I really think if I hadn't found a job where I am allowed to do my creativity and allowed to use the right side of my brain, I just would be so depressed. I wouldn't be able to have fun. I feel like it would affect the rest of my life too.
And the thing that sucks really about the whole thing is I've seen so many stories of people that fall into these categories that maybe they didn't find that thing they were good at, or they didn't find their style of learning, and instead they find themselves in these jobs where all their coworkers are able to focus and get stuff done, and they're left wondering what in the world is wrong with them. And it's something that can seriously affect your mental health and especially your confidence. And I know for me, for a fact, I definitely have experienced that, and it's been something that I'm still working so hard to try and change those beliefs in my mind and rewrite them to finding things that I am good at, and not just immediately, whenever I have a bad day, labeling myself as someone that's lazy, dumb, and unmotivated. And I think that's honestly why it was so good for me to talk to Danny, because when I talked to Danny, I could hear so much clarity in his voice that he's come to for himself, despite the beliefs that he may have picked up from his earlier days before he was diagnosed, and even since then having to work on changing those beliefs along the way as things come up. Danny has figured out the secret to having ADHD in the modern world, or any sort of learning disability for that matter.
Like, people aren't just like better or worse than other people. It's just you're just more or less tuned into the environment that you're currently in. For me, it was that my brain is just calibrated for a different level of stimulus than what I get in a traditional classroom setting. People are perfectly who they're supposed to be. They're probably just in the wrong space. This is just not where I'm supposed to be, and that's okay, you know?
Huh.
It took me a really long time to detach my value from my sense of academic productivity.
For sure.
I have to be really careful to not give in to the urge of like changing myself or wishing I could change myself to be better suited in an environment, and rather to find the environments that I am naturally suited for, so that I'm not reinforcing myself this mindset that I'm not good enough, that I'm fundamentally flawed, and that I need to change who I am in order to A, fit in, and B, to succeed. It's never that you are the issue. It's not that you are broken and you are flawed and therefore you need to change yourself. It's that you just aren't where you're supposed to be yet. And you just need to keep looking for the environment, the relationships, and the people that you're meant for.
So not to be preachy or anything like that, but that's kind of what I want to leave you with, is figure out what spaces were made for you, figure out what does drive you, what you are good at, and find people that support you in that space. Because when it comes down to it, regardless if you believe it or not right now, there is a world in which you're doing exactly what you were built for, exactly what naturally comes to you, and you're able to be successful with it. I really do think that. But that's it. I hope it helped. Please subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this kind of content. Again, I talk a ton about ADHD, a lot of my experience with it, and anything that I'm learning along the way, I hope to put on this channel. So please subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next video.